Imagine this, a girl from the wrong side of the tracks, overlooked by everyone around her. The bullies, the teachers, the students, they all saw her as a joke. So one day, during a talent show at school, they called her out as a prank, asking her to sing. But no one expected what happened next. The sound that came from her throat, it was so powerful, so haunting that it made the room fall silent. In that moment, everyone realized they had underestimated her. This wasn't just a poor girl, they had no idea they were about to witness greatness. Stick around to hear how one girl turned a cruel joke into her defining moment. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to join the Black Visionaries family. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. There was a girl named Amara, a 16-year-old from a small, run-down neighborhood where dreams felt far away. Amara didn't have the wealth or the connections that some of the other kids had. What she did have, however, was an undeniable gift, one that she kept hidden deep inside. But that gift came with a price. She'd been teased since she could remember. Kids at school called her names, made fun of her clothes, and taunted her because her family didn't have much. They'd see her sitting alone during lunch or walking the halls with her head down, and they'd make snide comments, not knowing that Amara had already built walls so high no one could see what was truly inside. Her heart, while bruised, was strong. Her soul, though cracked, was relentless. Amara had always been different, not in a way that people would normally recognize, but in a way that lived beneath the surface. She grew up in a small, underprivileged neighborhood where dreams seemed out of reach for people like her. While others had the privilege of new clothes, nice homes, and the freedom to follow their passions, Amara's world was filled with struggle, quiet humiliation, and constant reminders of what she didn't have. But there was one thing that the world couldn't take from her, a gift, a voice that could make the heavens stand still. Her life wasn't easy. The school she attended was filled with the typical cliques, where wealth and social status ruled. Amara was from a poor family, and it showed. Her clothes were often secondhand, and the lunch she brought wasn't like the ones the other kids had. But Amara didn't care about that. But Amara didn't care about that. She learned early on that people would see what they wanted to see and assume what they wanted to assume. She wasn't there to fit in. She was just there to survive. The teasing began in elementary school and only grew worse as she got older. Amara became used to the mocking. She learned how to walk with her head down, how to stay to herself, and how to shut out the cruel whispers and laughter behind her back. No one really noticed her. She didn't mind, though. In her mind, she was already invisible. Being overlooked, being ignored, it was safer. She had bigger dreams, but no one was interested in hearing them. So she kept them to herself. One day, however, things were about to change. It was the day of the school talent show, an event that was more of a spectacle than a celebration of talent. Every year, the popular kids used it as an opportunity to perform their own version of talent, usually something silly or embarrassing. The others sat back, laughed, and watched. The idea of showcasing real talent was completely lost on the students. But to Amara, it wasn't just an event. It was a reminder of everything she wasn't, everything she was never meant to be. The students loved picking on others during the talent show. It was almost a tradition to call out someone from the crowd and dare them to perform. This year, it was Amara's turn. She wasn't even asked politely. No, they called her out as a joke. Amara, you think you can sing? Prove it! They shouted, their laughter echoing around the room. The room was filled with chuckles, and she felt the sting of their mockery. She had never been someone who liked attention, especially not when it was at her expense. She could feel her heart race, and a familiar wave of anxiety crept up on her. But this time, something felt different. There was something deep inside of her, something buried beneath the years of ridicule that refused to stay hidden. For a brief moment, Amara considered just sitting back down and ignoring them, like she always did. But something inside of her shifted, a fire ignited in her chest. They didn't know her. They didn't know the strength she had inside, the talent she had buried away in the quiet of her own heart. With a quick breath, she stood up. She felt everyone's eyes on her, their gazes heavy and full of expectations. This wasn't just about singing anymore. It was about proving something to herself. It was about showing them that they had no idea what she was capable of. Her legs felt like they were moving in slow motion as she made her way to the stage. The laughter didn't stop. If anything, it grew louder. They thought she would mess up. They thought it would be a disaster. Amara reached the center of the stage, the lights in her face blinding her for a moment. For the first time in her life, the weight of being invisible, of being underestimated, felt heavy on her shoulders. The stage, which had once seemed like a place for the confident and the talented, felt like the last place she ever wanted to be.
But she knew she had to take this chance. This was her moment to show the world, not just her classmates, not just the bullies, but the world who she really was. She took a deep breath, letting it out slowly, and then she began to sing. The sound that escaped her lips was nothing like anyone expected. It wasn't the shaky, nervous voice they thought they would hear. No,
Her voice was rich, powerful, and full of emotion. It wasn't just a song. It was her soul, every unspoken word, every tear, every dream, poured out into every note. The air in the room seemed to freeze around her, as if time itself had stopped to listen. Her voice was raw, and it soared across the room, echoing off the walls. The people in the audience, the ones who had been waiting for her to fail, sat in stunned silence. They couldn't move, they couldn't speak. They had never heard anything like it. The room, which had been filled with laughter just moments before, was now filled with the sound of something more profound: respect. Amara wasn't just singing, she was commanding the room. Her voice carried the weight of everything she had kept hidden for so long. And for the first time in her life, she felt completely alive, completely free. When she finished, the room was still. No one moved, no one clapped. It felt like the entire world was holding its breath, waiting for something, anything. And then, slowly, the applause began.
at first, it was just a single clap from the back of the room, followed by another and another. Then, like a wave, it spread across the room until the entire auditorium was filled with cheers and claps that shook the air. But this wasn't just about the applause. It wasn't just about her performance. It was about something deeper, something they had all overlooked. Amara was not just a joke.
She wasn't just a poor girl with nothing to offer. She was a force they couldn't ignore anymore. The students who had dared her to sing stood frozen in their seats. They had never truly seen her. They had underestimated her. They had thought that by pushing her, they would expose her weaknesses. But instead, she had exposed their ignorance, their cruelty, and their blindness. Amara's performance didn't just change how the others saw her, it changed how she saw herself. She wasn't just the girl in the back of the room anymore. She wasn't just someone to be made fun of or dismissed. She was someone who had a voice that was worthy of being heard. And it wasn't just a talent, it was power. The next day, her life was different. People who had never spoken to her were now eager to talk to her. Teachers who had barely acknowledged her were now treating her with newfound respect. But Amara didn't care about the sudden attention. She didn't care about the popularity or the praise. What mattered to her was what she had proven to herself. For the first time in her life, Amara realized that she was more than the circumstances she was born into, more than the expectations people had of her. She didn't need to prove herself to anyone. Her voice had already done that for her. She had shown the world and herself what she was capable of. And in doing so, she had found something far more important: her own worth. Before you go, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the Black Visionaries family. If you were inspired by Amara's strength and voice, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, never let anyone define you by your circumstances. Your true power lies in what they can't see. See you in the next one.